Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jim Toes with me is Wanderlust. Excited to have everybody joining us. Today, we're going to be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of African naming. Before we dive into details and define how our flow is going to be today, Benjamin, you want to say hi?
Well, yes, thanks, and Jim Toast for having me. It's always a pleasure being with you and also to all our viewers all over the world, and where we believe that bringing, the real life, undiluted experience straight to your heads is one of our core function. We're going to give you the way it is. It's going to be very, it might sound simple. It's just, about, what we feel. It's something that we do every day all around the world, and we just want to bring it to raw to you guys the way it is. And again, welcome everyone, and thank you, Jim Toast, for always having me. It's always a pleasure being here. Let's get it started.
Yeah, the topic at hand is African naming. I remember back then when we used to study biology, and they now say botanical name, all those long name. I can't remember any one of them. I'm really not too good with biology, but that's how most people see African name. But the truth of the matter is that name has identity and there's a story behind it. Most African name might be a sentence, but it has a story. Like, for example, a name like Ife or Lua, typically being shortened into Ife. Some people might say, yeah, it makes it easy because the purpose of you communicating with people is for them to be able to identify you, call your name in full, not murder your name. Don't give them extra work while trying to call your name. But the truth of the matter, we could argue both way, because you have some very difficult German names too, that Schwarzenegger. You have some very interesting German name. At least I can relate with that. And that is hard to pronounce, but they damn not cut it down. They give you the way it is. You learn that name and learn to pronounce it. So we're gonna be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. Let's not forget that African names basically are names that might be a sentence, but might also typically there's a story behind each name. It's like a summary. It's like a story being compressed and labeled a name. That's how typically it is. Do you want to give any intro on that before we dive straight into it?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I would like to just give an intro about that. And this is a part of our snippet that we discussed about yesterday. Right? Well, the core message here, honestly, is this. Now, names are identity anchor, right? And again, part of what, we explain is that when we replace our name or shorten it for conveniences, like you said, whereby, somebody is called Ifeoluwa, and suddenly because of people's tonation and all, you shorten it just to Ife, right? Like a very three short words, three short alphabet. Right? It's something that it's risk disconnecting from our roots, right? And teaching our children, right, that about who they are and how they must adjust, to fit into this kind of society or the culture, we are in. But the most important thing we need to know is this, that, our name, when we talk about our name, maybe from, where we come from, especially Africa, it's not just about name, it goes deeper than we think, giving names, right, means a lot to us, right? And that is one of the things that we have to practice, because at the end of the day, the names shows a very huge, meaningful impact in your life. It means a lot to you, and it's a path to a greater things, for tomorrow. So we just don't give names just for fancy sake, right? Just for entertainment sake. No. For each name given to anyone, believe you me, there's a story behind it, there's an history behind it, it's cultural based, and it's an identity that will keep you knowing that this is where you belong to. And like you said, we're going to unpack the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's go on.
Yeah, we're going to unpack it. We're going to do it in three segments. The first one is name as an identity, name as a belonging and a connection, and the third one is name as a meaning and a value. First, name as an identity. Let's first break this down. You know, naming helps to identify something, a person, a thing, a car. It gives it a uniqueness. The reason why a name Bola might be different from a name Coyote is because of that naming. You know that Bola is this. I am in a group of, if you have a group of people, is what you call upon that the person identified that, "Oh, I'm being referred to here and I need to show up." So name as an identity is a key factor. Let's not forget that we are trying to talk about you or the person bearing the name. And if, for example, a name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I will now say 5, 6. As an identity, we've watered down what that name is. Well, we can say based on trend, based on ease, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has come to identify as 5, 6. But that also means that another 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 could be identified as 5, 6. Another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 could have been identified as 5, 6. So the uniqueness has been taken away. And aside that, is also a medium for communication. I will allow you to talk about that first, then I'll come back and talk about more there before we move to the second stage.
Oh, yes. So in terms of talking about the good side, right? Now let's look at the core idea about it, right? African names are rooted in story and purpose. Now, they reflect what is called gratitude, faith, hope, or circumstances of birth. Now, let's now take a step back now to the talking point of what the good about it's all about. Now, every African name has meaning. An example is Chinonso in Igbo land, right? In Nigeria, meaning God is near. Inita in Hausa land, you know, in Hausa language, which is faithful. Now, again, our name, right? In Yoruba context, meaning we talk. Now, a good name corrects generations and heritage. We shouldn't forget about that. A very important thing that we need to have in mind. As you've said, we are trying to pass a message. It's a communication, right? So that name gives meaning. It communicates. It sends so many things to people that say it. Even confessing it, even saying the name is like confession to you, right? So names can heal a lot of, generation silence now. And that's the reason why we have to keep the culture alive across all oceans, across any culture, across any particular place we find ourselves. I'll take for example, a friend of mine, right, named his daughter Ezine. Ezine is an Igbo name, right, in Nigeria, which means good mother, in honor of his state's mother, right? But when his daughter asks about her name, she learns not just the word, but the story of love, loss, and legacy. So the question I'm going to be asking our listener is this: what does your name mean? And when did you tell that story to your kids? I will leave it like that. Let's move on.
Okay, talking about the meaning of name as it relates to identity is very, very important because we can easily connect with that. As a means of identity, a typical example is a friend of mine also was able to connect, make a family friend from just the name. I think they have a Yoruba name, Femi, Oluwa Femi. So the guy name has actually been shortened definitely to Femi. But the kids were friends in school. One of the kids a new student. Then the second one had been in that school. But the new student is who happened to be Mayowa is now not a friend of Femi. And he was telling his mom that, hey, there's a black dude in my school called Femi. So Maya was good enough the day she went to go and pick him up. Met Femi's mom. He said, "Is your child named Oluwafemi?" She said, "Yes, of course." And that's how they connected. So you can see as a means of identity, name has brought connection. As you have said, as a story, name has brought history back, helping us to relate to who we are. And as a motivation, as you have also alluded to, for example, Oluwafemi, what it actually means is God loves me. So if somebody that is already been told or been informed about what the name stands for and is in a situation that he feels lonely and the person is godly, religious, and the name you can actually stand in front of mirror that, hey, my boss is not friendly with me today, or the tax ahead are making my team member turning me to an outcast. But I didn't get here by myself because Oluwa me, because God loves me. And that you can trace back to what has happened in one's past. Because there's nothing as powerful personally I'm speaking now, there's nothing as powerful in life like you wanting to you are being taxed or you are in front of a big challenge and you can't see a way through. But what you know is that you've gone through other challenges in the past. So you can tell yourself that me that Oluwafe, me that God loves, because of his love for me, I've gone through challenge A, challenge B, challenge C. So who are you, challenge F, that won't be able to deal with this? So you can see motivation and resonating from just the name. But if it's Femi, has been shortened to Femi, which is love, or me, some even put it just me, you understand, for convenience or making it funky. You have, unless the person still carried the story, you have lost that motivation, that encouragement part of it. So it's very important to keep name if you can. But even if you cannot, because I'm trying to argue against both, because one of the major reasons why people don't keep their name as it is because of conveniency. They're trying to make sure whoever wants to call their name find it easy to call their name. And because of also segregation, some people are like, if someone should see my name, they might not even want to invite me to the table in the first place, which is true because you can send in some application somewhere and somebody will see, who is this fem what? You understand? and they might not even invite you to the table in the first place. So it might not even give you an opportunity to even be able to present what you are made of. So it might shut door for you. That is understandable. So for that reason, you can say, okay, you might look for other name. But you also, even if you are doing that, I think it's also important that parents, if you're giving your children African name, to tell them what the meaning is, even if they are still trying to make it convenient for others, they still know the full meaning. And in a situation where there is a conversation, they can talk about what the name means, the story behind it. I think I've talked a lot. Let's go to belonging and connection. I know you've talked about belonging and you've talked about connection. So if you don't mind talking about how keeping your name or identifying with your name helped you connect to your root.
Yes. So honestly, let me take it from the part of misinterpretation, right? And I'm going to be saying that when we mocked or erase it, now when we mocked when names, right, that we have named maybe our children or maybe that our parents have named us, when names are mocked or erased, it can cause shame and internal conflict, which is normal, right? But the most important thing is this: we are in the Western world, right? We must learn how to embrace these names. They may feel too long or too Africans. And that's one of the reasons why I like, Asian brother, right? If you look at Asian brother, they cherish that name and they call it the way it is. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care how you feel. They will say it the way it is. And those names carries weight. Those names have a meaning. And those names opens a lot of, doors and a lot of conversation. People are always inquisitive to what does it really mean? Like you've said now, Oluwafemi. If you can't pronounce Oluwafemi, just know that God loves me. So when you're calling me and you don't want to call Oluwafemi, just say God loves me, right? You're communicating, right? So for me, honestly, it's something that we need to just know that we just need to name it the way it is. The pop culture itself, where we find ourselves, might misuse African names without understanding the meaning. It happens, right? But it is for you to let them understand that our name has a root. Our name, it's an history. Our name, it's a journey. And it can't just end, right? It's something that has to keep going. So losing your name is not losing a part of your story. No, it's not part of this. It's not part of it, right? But the most important thing is that your names must be carried with pride or pain, depending on how you treat yourself, right? And our job as a parent, right, is to turn those pain back into pride. So that is the reason why we are talking about this particular, all scenarios, right? Because at the end of the day, the name itself speaks volume, and we have to let them know that say it the way it is, even if it's going to make your, tongue or your teeth scatter. We will teach you. You will learn, because honestly, you will learn, and with time, right, you will get it right. So I think at this point, I will leave it at that particular
Yeah,
stage. Yeah.
that's talking about how it connects, the connection and the belongings, as we have alluded to, history as another example. No, another example is what I've said earlier. Femi and Mayowa's parents
Yeah.
meeting, the connection was the name. So name typically help ones to trace back ones. Maybe you have to need a 3 and Me, or what's that they used to check by your identity of where you came from. That's what names helps you
Yeah.
know where you belong, your
Ancestral.
culture.
Ancestral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Your culture. The story, because for every culture that survived has a story. And if your culture is still surviving in this day and age of amalgamation of different culture, then the story has to be told. Typically, maybe if it's first being told in name, there may
Yeah.
be appellation, etc. But names help one to trace one's root. If there's
Yes.
an example of a lady that interviewed at a place where I used to work. She's actually a doctoral or PhD, and she was trying to do a research. No, what do you call it after doctor program? Postdoc. So she came to where I used to work, and
Was not good.
so I was part of panel that was trying to interview her, and my director came to me, oh, this must be someone from your lineage, from your country. So I said, oh, let me look at the name. So when I perused her CV, when I went through, I said, oh, she's actually from Medo. How do I know? Because I was like, how do you know? I said, the name na Ibinedium. Really? Yeah,
So,
sir, yeah, that's how name can, even though when she came, she couldn't pronounce the name well, but it's already caused a camaraderie, or there's already a connection. We can
yeah, right.
easily start communicating because that name has already helped somebody. It shows belong in this time we're looking at belongings and heritage and history. So I could say, oh, she hasn't even traveled to Nigeria before. She was born here,
Yeah.
and she was happy that she had, even though funny enough, I don't know if she's still working there. She resumed the day she resumed a week after. I was also planning my exit to another place. But good for the funny enough, when she met me, I said, no, this company can't handle 2 Nigerians. So one of us has to go. So good enough. That's how I could trace her history back. She was so happy that she found someone of her kind, even though we have never met before, even though she hasn't traveled to Nigeria before. You can see that's how name help to show belongings, history. So the final one for
Yes.
today is
True.
name as I know we've talked about it, but we're dwelling on it this time around. Name as a value and a meaning. Name as a value and a meaning. Do you
Okay.
want to talk about that?
Okay. So, yes. So the thing about name as a value and a meaning is that now the name itself, right, is not bad at all, right? We shouldn't see the name that is given to us as bad, but it's how the society treats them, right? Now, like we've said, we shorten our names or we change our names for conveniences. Like you've said again, recruiters, teachers will definitely mispronounce our African names or avoid using them altogether, right? And studies also shows that ethnic names face discrimination in hiring or grading or depending on the kind of, context where you find yourself. But the most important thing we need to know is this, that every time we change a name to fit in, we send a silent message that our culture is too heavy to carry, but it's not. So for me, seeing it the way it is. An example of this example I'm going to give is about a guy, right? A Ghanaian student told his professor, right, kept calling him ko, because he couldn't say coffee. Just imagine. One day he said, if you can say Takloskofic, which is in Russia or Ukraine, you can say coffee. The whole class went quiet. You right? So the thing is this, we just need to keep echoing it, re-echoing it, and let them know that this is my name. This is my name. You can't erase it. You can't call it for your income, for your convenience, or you can't just shorten it for your convenience. That name carries weight. And we just need to know, no matter how heavier it is, we need to say it the way it is. Right? And with times, believe you me, honestly, based on, research, they will get it. Right? So it's our job to just keep going in that trend. And again, we should just let our, kids that, is growing up knows that we didn't give them the name just for fancy or just for them to know that, you're this or that. But it's for you to know that by the time you grow up, right, you don't know where you're going to find yourself. That name, that's your parents' name, right? It must be their kids, right, must have that name. And it's for a reason. It's a continuous generational stuff, right? That is never ending, right? So I will leave it at that also, just for you to have your own points.
Yeah. Talking about meaning and value, typical Nigerian name or African name, as we have said earlier, do have meaning and value, like God is faithful to me. The love of God is so awesome. Jesus helped me to believe in him. There could be a sentence, but there's a meaning and a value to it. And one of the person I respect a lot when it comes to the way she kept her name is actually Ngozi Okojo Iweala. Even someone born in Nigeria will find it hard to pronounce that name, but she stick with it,
Exactly.
and now everybody
Exactly.
can pronounce that name. You understand? So when and
Exactly.
when you in what you're doing, you show excellence, people will
True.
purposely learn to pronounce your name. You understand? One of the reasons why people typically want to shorten the name is you want to impress. I understand we all want to impress. You want convenience. I understand we all want to make life convenience for others. But in that regard, we should not water down our identity. For example, most of my children's names still carry the name Olua, and they just put the many addition to it. People will be asking me that, can it be shortened? I said, no, I don't mind spelling it for you. I also, in some cases, I'll just give them a short version. And whenever I see somebody is putting in effort to actually say the name right, you understand? Then you can give them leeway. You understand? Help themselves and help you.
Sure.
But whenever some people are just so
I wanted
lazy.
to add something to what you said.
Okay. You go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say reclaiming the power. See, the thing is this, we should normalize using our full name. Wherever we find ourselves, let's use them proudly in schools, in workplace, in social spaces. In terms of teaching pronunciation, let's gently correct and educate them. Once they get it, they will get it right as time goes on. Now, let us also explain the meaning, because if you don't explain the meaning of that name, they will just think that maybe that name was just out of the blue, right? So, and again, when we get to public places, they encourage African naming ceremony, their heritage days and story night. Let's tell them what this name means. As they grow up, they will know that, man, this thing has weight, and there is a culture that will last from generation to generation with it. So I wanted to add. Sorry about that.
Okay. I think there was a drop in network in between, but that's okay. So as we wrap this up, talking about the value in name, my conclusion is it's very important to keep your name as often as possible as you can. Be proud of your name. It represents who you are. It has history and a storyline behind it. Show grace to people who are intentionally putting in effort to learn your name. I show grace because it's understandable. But people who just are lazy about it, then you say, hey, you have to say my name or you're not calling me. That is the way I feel it should go.
Yeah.
Because you cannot just lazily murder my name and expect me to show up for you. So if you show effort in saying my name and you're not getting it right, then because we like grace to be extended to us, so we should also extend grace to others. So you can wrap it up, Ben.
Yes. Also, just the last part that I'm going to just add to what you've said. You said it well, honestly. Now, the most important thing we just need to know that names are not just labels. They are mirrors of cultures, faith, and resilience. Now, we know for sure that the colonial system renamed peoples to control identity in time past. That's why you still have the names of Coca and Co, in where we come from. But reclaiming names is a form of cultural restoration. Teaching children the meaning of their names builds pride and belonging. At the end of the day, the world may shorten your name, but don't let it shorten your story. So it's up to us for us to let them know that our names mirrors the kind of culture we are in, and it's going to be transgenerational to the end. So I'll leave it like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim Tosi, for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope they did not confuse you, but we're
Yes,
just at our own points to this.
sure.
And let us know how you feel about our comment and our conversation. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.
See you.